Now everybody's either lifting these trucks or they're leveling them. Well, we're gonna lower ours down to put this supercharged power to the ground. Complete front and rear suspension lowdown on today's Tech Garage. Welcome to Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts. Now, we drove around our supercharged truck as a sleeper for long enough. It's time to turn it loose. So we're going to go ahead and drop the front end of the truck 2 inches and the rear end 4 inches to give it a performance look, almost to match that performance of the engine. We're also going to put some upgraded control arm on it, and we're going to put some slam air on the back after we drop it so we can still tow if we want to.
Hey, John, let's face it, you know, this truck's got over 100,000 miles on it, so it's a prime candidate for upper and lower control arms as part of the project. Now, this is major open heart surgery for anybody tackling it. You got to have the right quality parts and the right quality tools, and you got to be willing to take your time. Now, a couple first steps for us. You got to remove the caliper assembly, get it completely out of your way. We've got it strapped back with our shop Tech Garage famous bungee cord here, and it can remain there for the duration of the project. It won't hurt anything. Next, we're going to have to disconnect the upper and lower control arm mounting bolts, the upper ball joint, the lower ball joint, the tie rod end, the sway bar disconnect. We're going to get our rotor out of the way, and then we can get started. I'm going to start with the bottom strut mounts. There's a lot of disassembly required, but I got to tell you, the first thing you have to do is mark your alignment shims against the frame with some whiteout. Anybody's got that. I'm going to do this on the back side. You can see exactly how it works. Where the alignment shim touches the shoulder of the frame is where you want to make your mark. So when you reinstall everything, you're at least going to be close. You'll still need to go get a professional alignment, but now you've got some area, close proximity, to make sure you can drive this thing and get it to the shop for the alignment. So lots of uninstalling to do in step one. I'm going to get started, and John's going to show us exactly how this whole thing's going to work.
Now, there's a bunch of suspension systems out there, but I have two of the most popular right here out in front of us to take a look at. The first one's a McPherson strut system. Now, a McPherson strut goes from the top of the frame down to the spindle. It's pretty common. But better yet, I have the short, long arm suspension system, and that one's right here. This is what our truck has. Now, this is an older S10 model, but it's the same concept. Short, long arm being the short arm on the top, long arm on the bottom. Still have the control arms, my spindle's right here, and this one's gonna do the same thing on our truck. Now, our truck's right here. This is a short, long arm suspension system, and I have a cool demonstration to show you because our chief technician, Chase, he went out and he got the exact spindle that matches the truck, just a couple years older, but it's the same actual concept. So if I set them up like this side by side, this is the drop spindle from Rough Country, and you can see here what's happening. It's gonna be about 2 inches up, the wheel's gonna move up, thus the truck's gonna lower down. That's the spindle we're gonna put on. We're also gonna replace the control arms. Now, Moog sent us these control arms, and they're precision perfectly, so the geometry of the truck's going to stay exactly the same. The control arms are nice because they have a removable ball joint, and they also have gusher technology. Well, what is gusher technology? It's pretty cool. If you look right here, I'll show you. It's a little porous material inside that ball joint, so when I pump this, you can see it actually starts to ooze out. That's going to keep that ball joint lubricated and last for a long time. Now we move to the rear of the truck. Now on the rear of the truck, Rough Country sent us a 4-inch lowering kit, so we're going to have to take the leaf spring and we're going to move it up from the top of the actual differential down to the bottom. So we're going to need a 4-inch drop to do that, and that's going to lower the rear 4 inches. And because we did that, we're going to add the slam air kit to it from Airlift, and what that's going to do, it's going to give us the ability to tow. So we're going to install this motor right here, which is an Airlift, a solenoid, and a remote switch. So in case we want to go out there and tow and still use our supercharged truck in a towing capacity, hit a button, lifts up the rear end, we're good to go. Well, that's all the parts. We need to get to work. I think Brian's progressing really well.
John, I think we're making great progress over here. We got the upper control arm out, the old lower control arm out, the old spindle assembly removed, and that took a little bit of work and a little bit of wrestling here with the strut. Of course, the sway bar and the tie rod are disconnected as well. Once we had everything out, we could go ahead and transfer the wheel bearing over to the new spindle, as well as get our new upper control arm in. Along with the Moog control arms, we also got the Moog eccentric adjustment kit. What that means is you want to have tremendous flexibility and adjustability with camber once this project is done. So that kit's going to give us that. You might remember we marked our factory eccentric before we tore it all apart. And what I did, I laid the new Moog one right next to it, transferred the mark over, and up here you can see that we've got those marks lined up. It's not perfect, but it's certainly going to make this thing drivable to get it to a professional alignment once all of our work is done. All the new bolts are in. They only go in one way. Make sure you get that right so you've got that camber adjustment. Everything's loose. The lower control arm bolts are in. I've got the nuts on. This is heavy. I don't want anything falling down. And I'm going to go ahead and swing this up with the spindle on it and try to marry up the upper ball joint, get a nut on it. So I've got everything, final assembly, just about done. So we're going to swing that up. And it's actually helpful to have that wheel bearing transferred because it gives you something to hold on to. Get the nut here, get it started. You may need a buddy here. This isn't light, but now we've got everything pre-connected. And I was darn sure to take care of that wheel speed sensor harness all along the way. So we're making great progress. Stay with us here on Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts.